So I have to admit to you this morning that I have not particularly been looking forward to this weekend, which is a really strange thing for a pastor to say, I know. And if you have been in any of my sermons before, you know I usually just jump right into the scripture. I'm usually trying to find some really cool nuance in the original Hebrew or Greek. And so if you read ahead and you saw the sermon title for today, Koinonia, then you're probably thinking that that is where we're going to go. And we will eventually, I promise. But we have to start out this morning with a little bit of news. Around Easter time 3 years ago, my husband and I started attending Aldersgate, and we almost immediately fell in love with the people here. And in July 2013, I became a part of the staff. So we've been here just a little bit over 3 years, and it feels in a way like a lot longer, in a really good way, but it also feels like we have just arrived here. Which is why I have to tell you that it's very difficult for me to tell you this morning that I will be leaving in June. My husband, many of you know, brought us here because of his work with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and he is going to be transferring down to the regional office in Florida. And so I'm sure you all have a lot of questions about what that all looks like and what that means, and so Dennis is going to kind of walk us through what that looks like.
The answer is no, you can't go. Go on with your sermon.
Okay. You get to tell Chuck.
I'm happy to tell Chuck,
Okay.
That's fine. I'm mad at him, he shouldn't be doing this. Security and exchange, like that's a big deal. The first time we met is because a member of our church, two of them, Joan and Bob Oschlager, own a home here and own a home in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, and they attended the church where you were an associate pastor,
Right.
Christ United Methodist Church.
Mm-hmm.
They then heard that you were moving because Chuck was coming to D.C. for the job here. And he called me and said, you're going to have a brand new United Methodist pastor who knows nobody in Virginia. Would you reach out to her when she arrives? A couple months later, you made the journey and came to Virginia. He called me again and said, you promised you'd go see her, now's the time.
She's here.
She's here.
Mm-hmm.
So I called you, we met at Joe Theismann's restaurant and just began a conversation that just became fascinating for me. Mm-hmm. Loving you is an easy thing to do. At that time, Julie Pfister was doing congregational care, and she was needing to take care of her father in Utah. Fabulous woman that she is. So there was this opening. And you had been chaplain in a hospice center, so lots of experience in congregational care, trained as a United Methodist pastor. And so there was this odd kind of, this might be just right. So you took the position of congregational care here. You applied for the job, as others did. Staff Perry said, you're the one. You then the next year became associate pastor here, and then this year become executive pastor. The fastest rise in the history of Methodism. It, I think, prepares you well for whatever it is will happen next in Florida. Mm-hmm. And I am deeply grateful for a chance to work beside you. You are an incredible delight. When is your last Sunday at Aldersgate?
My last Sunday will be June 5th. June 5th. So 4th and 5th that weekend I'll be
So you'll be
goodbye.
preaching that weekend, and then we have a big goodbye party with parting gifts and all of that stuff. Right?
Big party.
Big party.
You're all invited.
And then you, sometime in June, head to Florida.
Right.
Will there be a church for you to go to when you leave here?
Yes, hopefully. Right now they're in the midst of that. So this time of year, like January through April every year, the bishop of the conference, basically the state, and then the district superintendents of the different areas, they all get together and they start looking at the openings that churches have and then the pastors that are available. And so Virginia's doing that right now, Florida, all of the different conferences. And so they have that wonderfully huge, enormous, very daunting task of matching churches with pastors, making sure that they have a good fit. And so I would definitely invite you all to be in prayer for the cabinets that are going through that right now. But so long answer for a short question. I do not know where I am going specifically yet. I will be in the state of Florida somewhere. They do take into account where a spouse works, and so they'll be trying very hard to get me near that area. But I will know and be able to announce by April 17th where in Florida I'll be going.
Okay. I'm looking forward to learning. So
Yes,
will you tell
me
us?
too.
When you know, will you tell us?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Our system's a little different. There are, like in the Baptist and Presbyterian and a variety, there is a a call system where a team goes out and listens to a lot of pastors and then selects somebody to come.
Right.
Ours is a sent system, more hierarchical. So we have a bishop who oversees the state who decides who goes where.
Right.
When it's an associate's position, if it's a senior pastor, let's say if I were leaving, the bishop would work with a team in the church to find the right person. When it's associate's position, the bishop just works with the senior pastor, and I pick the right person. I've received a list of 25 people who would like to be an associate somewhere in the state of Virginia. And I Facebook stalked all of them. I then did a phone interview with half of them, and I've done interviews with about 5. I then let this week the DS know who would be good, and each one of the 5 I interviewed will tell the DS where they want to go, the bishop's office where they want to go. And we'll find out about the same time in April who they've decided should come here. And I'll tell you all whenever that comes. Do you have to find a house when you're going to Florida?
Most of the churches in Florida have parsonages that are attached, and so likely I will not have to find a house, that there'll be a place that I'm told, this is where you live, and I say, yes, sir.
Are there like alligators near the house, do you think? Or?
It depends on how far into the Everglades they put me, but sure.
I'll put in a good word.
Or alligators.
Could we like put Chuck with the alligators? And
I like him. That's why I came here, so no.
Okay. You're an absolute delight. I want to have a great time doing ministry together for the next 4 months.
Yep.
And then give the very best prayer I can for what you're going to be doing next, because God's going to do great things with you.
And God's going to do great things here too, I have no doubt. So thank you. It truly is an honor, and I mean that quite deeply. It is an honor to be one of your pastors, and I've been thinking a lot, given what we knew was coming, about what it means to be church, and not just here at Aldersgate, but church across the world, all of these different congregations that people call their home of faith. And so I kind of was amused when I saw the scripture that was assigned this weekend, this Acts 2, 42 through 47. You probably heard a few years ago, it's kind of petered out a little bit, but there was this whole Acts 2 church movement where people were saying they were trying to get back to that original model of what it looks like in the scripture that we just read. And so I want you to imagine for a moment what it would be like if Aldersgate was that Acts 2 church. Okay, so starting with verse 42, we're told they devoted themselves to teaching and fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayers. And the word that they use there in the Greek means to attend to something constantly, without a break. And so these people were fully devoted to being able to be taught, to praying together, to sharing meals together. They were all in. And then verses 44 and 45, they had all things in common, we're told. They pooled all of their resources, financial and otherwise. They put everything in one center pool, and then they used it for the benefit of the group. Verse 46 tells us that they spent as much time as they possibly could in the temple, and that all of their meals were shared together with great gladness and generosity. And the word that is actually used for generous, agaliasis, means with wild joy, ecstatic delight. And so this was a group that was completely in love with what was happening there. So they devoted themselves constantly to this. And so after church today, we are all going to go back to your house, and you are going to make us a wonderful lunch for all of us. We're going to eat this lunch together with incredible enthusiasm and joy, and then we're going to spend the rest of the day together in your house, reading the Bible and singing hymns and praying. When it starts to get dark, we're going to again eat together. Maybe we'll get delivery this time. And then we're going to camp out in your living room. We're going to bring our sleeping bags over, and we're all going to sleep there. In the morning, we'll wake up, we'll have breakfast, and then we'll come back to this sanctuary where we will spend all day here in worship. Now, before we leave today, I'm going to put a big bowl in the center aisle, and you're going to walk by and empty out your wallets and your purses into that. And we're going to open up a joint checking account. And you're going to cash in all of your 401ks and sell your houses and your condos, and then we're going to have our paychecks direct deposited all together into that joint account. Okay? Y'all in? You notice I didn't actually go and get my purse either. I mean, that doesn't work. That's not how community works like that. But every time I read this passage, every time I read it, I have to think about couples I know who have been a bit like that. And maybe you have known a couple like what I'm about to describe, or maybe you have been that couple, or maybe you are that couple right now. Imagine this, a couple that has just fallen completely head over heels in love with each other. All they want to do is be with each other. And when they are together, they don't even notice that there is anybody else in the entire world. It just disappears. They just stare lovingly into each other's eyes. They eat every meal together. If they have to be apart, they're thinking and talking about each other. They're texting each other and sending cards and flowers. They're calling each other all the time. They don't want to be apart even for a split second. And they will even break the bank in order to give that other person what it is that they need or even what they want. Anybody known a couple like that at some point in your life? Couples, though, don't tend to stay there. That is a part of the relationship, but it's not the entire trajectory. Usually, relationships go kind of like this. First, there is a kind of checking out of all the different options out there, kind of casual dating, getting to know different people. Then, finding that one person that you think that this could be it. And then eventually falling deeply in love, deciding to make that commitment, to jump in, to be able to buy that engagement ring, to buy that house, whatever it is, making that commitment together. And then there's the honeymoon period where everything is perfect. And you've talked to people, I'm sure, when they've fallen just in love and they say, what is this person like? And they get that kind of misty look in their face. And they're like, he's perfect. The honeymoon phase where the person can do no wrong. Then the first fight, the first disillusionment, the first realization that that person that you have committed to is not perfect. And then in that moment, usually there are just two choices that people make. Either dig deeper and learn more and to do the work of relationship, or bail, walk away. And our society makes it so easy and acceptable for us to just walk away. But it's interesting to me that our relationship with the church actually has a very similar trajectory. The first one, that's kind of like casual dating, is church shopping. Anybody ever did that? Church shopping? You go around, you kind of check out the feel of it, you listen to a few of the pastor's sermons, you meet some people, you see what their activities are, and then eventually you find a church that just feels like home. And so you make the decision that you want to commit to that. And in church world, we call that membership. And then usually there's the honeymoon period. Every sermon is better than the last one you heard. Every Bible study is great. Every person you meet is absolutely fabulous. And you can't wait to build this relationship even deeper. Then there's the first disappointment, the first disillusionment. The first time you hear a sermon that you don't agree with. The first time you hear a theology that doesn't jive with yours. The first time you get into a fight with somebody. The first time that you find out about the bureaucracy of the larger church. And then you have a choice. Do you dig deeper and learn more and do the work of a relationship with the church and its community, or do you walk away? I've heard many people say that as a couple's relationship grows, as they spend years together, that love changes in them. But I don't believe that for a second, because love is love is love. We love because we were first loved by God. We love because we're created in the image of the God who is love. But something does change. This is what it is that we start to understand the other person more deeply. We start to understand what their flaws are, and we love them in spite of those flaws. realizing that that person loves us in spite of our flaws as well. Realizing that we love our church home not because it's perfect, because I don't think there's anybody in here who thinks right now that the church is perfect. But we love the church because it is a place where we find God, a place where we learn to be able to see God in others. We love because God first loved us. As that church in Acts 2 grew and matured, it changed. They had disagreements about the mission, personality conflicts, all of the usual things that will happen when you have a group of human beings together in a room for any length of time in relationship. And some walked away, but some stayed to dig deep. And I would say that it is all because of that one word that is our sermon title for today, Koinonia. That word in the Greek appears in verse 42, and it means fellowship. But it also means communion. It means deep sharing. It means a community grounded in God's love. Jesus' disciples were a very disparate group. We had fishermen, we had tax collectors, so many people who came from so many different walks of life. The one thing that Jesus knew these folks had in common was God's love. Our koinonia with each other, simply put, is possible because of our koinonia, our communion, our fellowship, our sharing with God. But Jesus knew that that was not always going to be easy, but he knew that it was worth it. So on the night that he gathered in an upper room in Jerusalem and over Passover with his disciples, he shared a gift with them. It was a gift that would remind them of his love for them. And it was a gift that would remind them of how they were bound together in God's love. It would bind them together further, it would give them strength, and it would allow God's peace to rest upon them. And that gift is communion, which we share together today. It's a sharing of bread and juice, a tangible reminder of God's love. Wherever we go in this world, wherever we find ourselves, we are bound together in God's love. And we're bound together in the sharing of this meal, always. As you come forward today to receive the bread and then to dip it in the cup, I would invite you to do something a little bit different than we usually do. Usually, especially during Lent, we come forward offering to God everything that is in us that is out of line with God's will. Today, I would ask you to come forward not for yourself, but for everyone else in this room. For the church, that God would bring healing and love and grace, that God would use us in powerful ways, that God would be able to do that not just for us here at Aldersgate, but for every church throughout the world. And so I invite you to be a part of that today, coming forward to receive communion for the communion.